Welcome everyone to another episode of Talent You Should Know, where we focus on the entertainment industry on a different level. Not only will there be artist and actor interviews of known and unknown talent, but insight into the team behind them that helps them build their brand. Each week, we'll tackle a different person in the industry with talents in their own rights. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This episode of Talent You Should Know is brought to you by Opposites Attract. Opposites Attract specializes in offering stylish, high-quality clothing that is both effortless and timeless. Find them on Instagram at Shop Opposites Attract or find them online at www.shopoppositesattract.com. Welcome everyone to another episode of Talent You Should Know with Zag. Today we have Erika, who is the CEO and head of content for Filmed by Erika. So, good evening. How are you?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
I am good. So I'm really excited we can do this. You know, we kind of exchanged chats and, got it together. So I'm really happy about that. So. Why don't we start with how you started? Why don't we talk about that?
Okay. Yeah. So I started doing video production roughly 11 or 12 years ago. It just happened one summer. So in grade school, I used to play sports all year round, but for some reason in the summertime, my mom was like, no sports for you, figure it out. So I've always had a digital camera laying around, and I just picked one up one day, and the rest was history.
Yeah.
Here we are today. Yeah.
Here we are today.
Literally, yeah.
This decision that, you made, right?
Right.
So It wasn't something that you always wanted to do?
I wouldn't say it's something that I have always wanted to do, but I would say I always had a camera in my hand since I was a kid.
Okay.
It's just something that I picked up and found like in my pastime I enjoy doing. Without realizing, that the sun set and I'm still working. So once I realized that, a lot of time go by while I do this, I was like, okay, it's something that I really love to do. So
yeah,
just kept at it. Yeah.
I'm like the amateur photographer. So here's how I started out in my amateur photography. Let me give you a little background. So my mom has taught me about photo albums. So we started with you remember the Kodak one?
Yes.
So that's whatever I'm coming from, and that's I upgraded to the camera phone, like the phone on my camera.
Okay.
I got pictures from there, and then like if I'm traveling, I usually take a Polaroid with me because I like kind of the feel of the Polaroid.
Yeah.
And now I have a Canon something or other that I'm going to start practicing with.
Okay.
But I'm not a professional by any means, but I feel like maybe there's a connection.
You got to start somewhere,
Right.
You got to start somewhere. Like my first digital camera was like a point and shoot, and it was, some rinky-dink camera. I literally don't judge. Like the first video project I shot was a music video. It was an in-home music video to do the Stanky Leg by the GS Boys.
Talk about it.
That's it. So look, if I started there and I'm here, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I looked on your bio and I saw you said Tom from MySpace had me tiptoeing around a 6-figure salary back in the day. What did you mean by that?
That is so funny that you bring that up. So, back in the MySpace days, there was a handful of people who used to literally deck their MySpace pages out. I was one of them. I used to get in photos. Oh, okay. So yeah, get in Photoshop, build out my template literally, and like plan out how I wanted to look on MySpace. Then I'll get on MySpace and literally hand code the HTML and, put stuff into place on MySpace, and my page will literally be decked out. Okay. And so I didn't realize what I was on the brink of at the time. I'm in like 9th or 10th grade doing this.
Yeah.
because I have a lot of time on my hands, I didn't realize that there's a whole career in, you know, designing websites and graphic design and the freelance space, and it's so much potential. Like, I knew so much then. And by the time, you know, I realized that, I was like, well, I was deep off into video production. And I kind of,
right. You could have done that as a side hustle at that point, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, when I was making my website, the Film by Erika website, like nowadays it's so easy to make a website. You just get on a platform, pick a template and plug and play basically. So when I was doing that, I was like, oh my gosh, this process is so seamless. Like back in the day, like, and I know there's still people who are out there really coding websites. And I'm like, I could have made a killing in college. Like,
yeah.
So
do you have anyone like currently that inspires you? So let's talk about who inspired you when you started out versus who inspires you now. And is that the same person?
So when I started out, I would say, because I'm thinking back on the summer when I'm in my bedroom picking up the camera and doing my thing. You know, I picked the camera up just out of curiosity. But when I started, I was in high school and we had this like phenomenal video production program. It was called Wildcat TV, and we pretty much put together a weekly segment every week, but it was run TMZ style. So we would, you know, everybody would sit in a circle, start pitching ideas for different segments, who's going to come up with sport, etc., and we'll put it all together, and it aired weekly. And my video production teacher, I'll say, she really inspired me to dive deeper into video production.
Right.
I don't know what it was that she seen in me at the time. She seen some spark. Like typically with video production, like you use the basic platforms like iMovie. We were working on iMovie. I strongly dislike iMovie. I never could get with it from day one. But I mean, I tolerated it and I used it. But for her, when she seen, I guess she seen like the potential that I had. One day she was like, I have Final Cut Pro. Like, I don't plan on teaching y'all how to use it, but you know what? How about you do the next project in this Final Cut Pro and feel free to, you know, use it however. Right. And from there, it was up, like literally up. And like I said, so in school, I was playing sports. So for study hall, I was going to video production lab, like finishing up my video production projects. Like that's how, you know, we were on the same page when it came to that. So she really like gave me that spark to just like go and keep going and keep going. So
nice.
Yeah,
so
and I would say
now. So that was then, right?
Yeah.
Is there anyone? Is she still like kind of that motivation now, or is there anyone else?
Yeah, she's definitely still that motivation. Like we still talk to this day. But of course, oh yeah, I literally just sent her some merch recently, and her reaction was priceless. Like I was like, okay, all right, like I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of just, you know, more motivation or inspiration. So, you know, Ava DuVernay, her story is just amazing. I mean, she didn't pick up a camera till later.
Yeah.
And she is just like flourishing. So, you know, yeah, I'm aspiring to be in her shoes one day.
So you want to teach one day, maybe?
Yeah.
Talk to me about your first major assignment, right? And then how did that assignment differ from your very first, like, real gig, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I actually want to pivot that question a bit because I hadn't really been on any assignments, but I have had some very interesting opportunities. And so I would say a major accomplishment. So one of my first real major accomplishments was getting a full ride scholarship doing video production, though I did not major in video production.
Right.
And that was, you know, shooting and filming at with the athletic department at the school that I went to.
That's awesome.
That was a very interesting process, but at the end of the day, it showed me that, you know, it showed me in college that you don't have to necessarily go out there what you're studying in college, if that makes sense. Because it was a lot like head scratching, like, how did you get that opportunity and you're not even majoring in video production?
Right.
And it was for a grad student. It was a GA position, but because of the person that hired me had so much tenure, she was able to rectify that and give me that same GA scholarship as an undergrad. So that was pretty cool. It showed me that you can do some boss-like things.
Yeah.
But yeah, and in terms of, you know, how it ties into where my brand is today, it's just more so, like I said, it gave me the umph to like keep going. So even with, you know, my video production teacher seeing that spark in me in high school to getting this opportunity in college, and it was another woman that gave me that opportunity. You know, the video production field is male dominated.
Right.
And then turning around and seeing those two things just really gave me the umph to just continue going and just creating a brand and building the brand. And like, that's, you know, pretty much where I am today. I'm big on, you know, brand awareness, though my brand is pretty simple and minimalist. Yeah. It's just those, you know, it's the small things that people catch and they're like, oh, you do video production. And so, yeah, so I like to move in a low key way, but let my work speak for itself.
Right. So was that when you got the scholarship in college, was that the moment when you realized like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing? Like now it's just full steam ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, one of the videos I said that I thought was like super interesting was for Off Memphis. Mm-hmm. And I like how you created the effect of light, like surrounding and kind of going through him. Yeah. So how did you kind of come up with that concept?
Really, he came to me with the idea. He wanted to do like so that's considered like a run and gun music video. Okay. Where you don't really have too many ideas, but you just have a concept. And so he wanted those movements, and it was actually my first time doing it. And what's funny about that situation is the day before that video shoot, I dislocated my shoulder. So I was literally filming the music video with one arm because I was like, I'm not canceling this music video. We're going to keep doing it. So it was a kind of an outlandish experience. But no, so I'm literally filming with one hand, and we kind of rehearsed the movements a couple of times, and then for the shoot, we just went at it and kept doing it. Because that was a one-take thing. Like, if you watch that video through, it was one take all the way through,
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so.
I also love the visuals for 4 a.m. in China. I don't know if that was just you, like, I don't know what that was, but it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And the music that accompanied it was just like, okay, unbelievable.
I appreciate that. No, so that I was in China about 4 years ago. I actually did an internship in China. So earlier, like I was telling you, I didn't major in video production. I was actually an international business major. Oh, okay. And so I did an internship in China for 3 months. And that video literally, that was my first week in China. I could not sleep because of the time difference. You know, you go to a different country. Yeah. You're wide awake in the middle of the night. And so I literally got up one night, like it was literally 4 a.m. I grabbed my camera, I went outside, and I started filming. And that's where 4 a.m. in China came from. It was literally like 4 a.m.
That's amazing. That's, you know, it's funny because like I don't know a lot about the you know, that the visual world and just kind of like seeing things like that. I know that what I appreciate, right? But I do know that like as a songwriter, right, I will literally wake up in the middle of the night and like record a song that I've heard in my dream and then go back to sleep. So I think it's almost like the same thing. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I'm up. Oh shoot, it's dope. And you know, and then you pick up your camera and you go out, right? Yeah. So, like looking at that, it reminded me, or it seemed kind of similar to like a short. So, and I know that you like short films and documentaries, and why focus on those? And do you think that you'll ever do a feature?
Yeah, so, you know, with short films, you really get the practice that's needed in order to, you know, grow within what it is that you're trying to do, whether you're trying to figure out if you want to land on a certain genre or, you know, go for a certain look. Because, you know, Spike Lee got his look down to the T, and Tyler Perry is riding his lane with, you know, movies and productions that he's dealing with. So shorts really give you that opportunity to figure out what it is that you really want to master. And then, you know, documentaries are just really up in the air. So, you know, I like both. I like the short and the doc. And yes, one day I do see myself actually working on a feature film.
Yeah.
I actually am now, like, I don't really post much of my directing work, but one of the reasons why I moved to LA to pursue filmmaking is to really, you know, rev up that directing skill and challenge myself to step into a new realm of the video production world. So yes, I do see myself doing a feature, and actually the goal is to direct a feature film very soon.
So do you feel now that you're in LA that you're kind of more recognized? You know what I'm saying? Like in this industry and amongst your peers?
Yeah, I would say yes and no. And here's why. So I say yes because, you know, prior to the shutdown and the pandemic, you know, I was everywhere doing a lot of work, hitting a couple of sets, helping with a couple of live production sets, just really getting my feet wet, networking, politicking, and just making sure that I'm out there and representing the way that I need to be represented. When I say no, it's more so because I'm pretty low key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty much, I'm to myself. Like, it's kind of like it's opposite of what I just said in regards to yes. But when it comes to just moving around and doing the work, I'm quiet about that until it's time to present that work. So yeah, I mean, since I've been out here, I'll say I've yet to solicit and say, hey, like, book me, or hey, like, buy some services from you or whatever. A lot of it has been word of mouth. And so I just think that that's just based on just doing a good job. You know, every time I show up, I strive to do a good job at whatever it is, whether I'm PAing, cam opping, directing, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that's almost a preferred way, right? Because it's word of mouth. Then you're creating, you know, you're creating your reputation. It's your brand, and people understand, like, this is who you are, versus you saying, hey, can you take a look at this? Hey, can someone saying you should take a look at this, right?
Exactly.
So that's really great. So now, what is the most extreme thing you've ever done for a shot?
I don't know if these are pretty extreme, but I would say a bit outlandish for sure. So, you know, back to the music video earlier that I was telling you about with Offham. Not only did I film that with one arm, we were in like a creek, like off in this little dip, like a creek. So imagine trying to climb out of that with one arm.
Oh my gosh.
That was interesting. And then going back to the college sports thing. So when I was filming the college sports, we used to work heavily with the football team, and we would have to film their football practices. Now, when you get the shots, you got to be up like bird's eye view. So you had a tower where you're walking up like 15, 20 flights of stairs with a heavy tripod and a big old camera bag.
Oh my gosh.
But then when you go to the end zone, you got to go 35, 40 feet in the air in a forklift. And the higher you go, the more it sways. So we got a wind meter up there. Like, if the wind gets to a certain amount, you can come down a little bit. But like me, I'm afraid of heights. So to say, I mean, I did fly in a doorless helicopter recently, but hey. But no, like, I'm pretty afraid of heights. So I strongly disliked filming football practices in a forklift. And then you got bees, it's hot, no shade.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, is that why you do drone work now? Because your drone work is actually super dope. So I'm thinking maybe.
Yeah. Oh, really? It would have been nice to film that with the drone, but
yeah.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, I love the I think you did a Juneteenth visual, which was really, really nice.
Yeah.
So do you have any events that you like to shoot most, like, or any particular thing? Do you like videos more? Do you like concerts? Do you like, you know, what is kind of like your preferred visual?
Yeah, I really love shooting concerts because the energy is just unmatched. You know, you have loads of fans who are there to see, you know, who they want to see. And like, you never know what you're going to get shooting a concert. And even going in as a shooter, like, you really don't know what the outcome is going to look like. So while you're there, you're kind of putting the visual together in your head. And then you're so amped up at the end of the show after standing on your feet and lock kneed, you know, for 4 or 5 hours. You get home and you're like, your adrenaline is up and you start editing and just like everything just comes together and it's it's a beautiful process. So
Yeah.
if anything, yeah, I love shooting concerts. I actually can't wait until we're able to go back to concerts.
So keep in mind, I'm originally from Jersey, right? And it was like, to do a concert was just like a huge ass effort. And then I moved to Denver. My job, my 9 to 5 moved me to Denver.
Mm.
When I tell you I did 10 to 12 concerts a year,
Wow.
10 to 12, because they are so exciting. I mean, there's like one right around the corner, and I'm talking about like Eric Church. I saw, who else? Just everyone. Mary J. Blige and Nas were here, and like Lauryn Hill was here. Stevie Wonder was. I mean, but it's so accessible.
Yeah.
So I do miss that.
Yeah.
So about your, I want to talk about your brand, and because it's super clean and like, even though like I've seen on the site, and I know it's like hoodies and shirts, and like I want to know, even though it's kind of super sleek, was that intentional? Did you play around with a lot of stuff before you had a vision, and where do you kind of see it going?
Yes, it was intentional. So, when I started Film by Erica, at first there was no logo. There was just me and a camera.
Right.
And then I actually have gone through 2 logos prior to settling on this one. And when I settled on this logo, it was the minimal look for me that really served, because it's pretty simple. It's my name literally in a rectangle. And like even when I wear the merch, people look, but then they look more and they're like, "Oh, you do video production?" And it's like, "Oh, like I got your attention." So to a degree, yes, it was intentional, because I consider myself a minimalist anyways. I just like stuff simple, straight to the point. Even with my work, it's not too, all over the place. It's not a lot of, special effects or anything like that. It's literally just my vision brought together.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of where I see the brand going, wherever, the brand takes me, this is actually, it started off so filmmaker started in college. And, it's just something that I just have been consistent with, and just, been raising more brand awareness, and just, getting more eyes on it. Filmmaker is literally everywhere. As you can see, like, I got a neon sign, I have merch, it's my phone, I have a pad, a mouse pad. So I try to just keep it customized, just so I can constantly see it. But my overall goal actually is to run a full service video production and ad agency.
Okay.
So I've actually been working on that on the side, and, Film by Erica will always be its own thing, but eventually, aside from actually doing video production, I want to be in the project management aspect of it as well.
Yeah. And what I like just about your brand, like looking at it on site, and even looking at it like now in the background and speaking with you, I feel like it represents you, because like you're very articulate, and you're very kind of like poised and reserved, but really, like there's so much more to that. And I think that that's kind of what catches in your logo, because even though it's sleek and it's your name, and it's still like, oh, that's interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really like that.
Thank you.
So for anyone who's kind of starting out, right, in the video industry, is there any kind of recommendations that you would have so far as like, whether it's equipment or, how to go about starting in this business?
Yeah. I always tell people to start with what you have. We are in the day and age where everybody has a camera on their cell phone. So use your phone.
Yeah.
Literally, your phone shoots in HD. Your phone shoot HD photos. Start there. See what you can make happen. You literally can edit on your phone, and then figure out if this is something that you like before you go spend all your money. Because I meet people who literally don't have any experience and will save up all of this money, spend thousands of dollars on equipment, and then I check in with them months later and their equipment is collecting dust.
Facts.
Why waste your money and your time?
Right.
So I always tell people, start with what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, even when I started this podcast, like, it's odd because in general, like, if I'm on the street, I'll tell somebody, I'm like, oh, I like your shoes. But if I'm in a crowd of people, right, I don't just have to like go and talk to people, right? That's not what I do. But I knew I liked doing this. I like people who are creative, and I like learning about their processes and just seeing like, oh shit, like, how did you come up with that, right? But then the other part of this is, hey, I have to do, I do this on YouTube, right? It shows on YouTube. I'm not trying to do the video part of it. Like, I tried once. I literally went on YouTube and I started to do the trims. I was like, so no, I'm gonna go to Fiverr. Like, I started one trim. I said, this ain't for me. And I sent it out to this guy. And what I love about him is that, like, he's known me for so long. Like, he'll say, hey, don't wear this color shirt. That doesn't work for you. He'll say, you should do this trim here. Don't use this font. And those are the type of things, like, he cares about that stuff. He notices that stuff. Me, I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to wear a white shirt and some gold lipstick and it's going to be fine. He's like, not if you want people to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And like, the other thing is what I was wondering is, do you think that there's a particular kind of practice that people should do, like, for singing, if you want to do opera, you do a certain set of exercises. So for videography, is there a particular type of practice or shoots that you do for like videos or whatever?
Well, yeah. So I'm constantly watching. I'm constantly on YouTube. I'm constantly watching things that, if I have a project coming up that I'm, set to direct, I will watch, similar productions, shorts, TV shows, anything to draw inspiration to make sure that, I'm executing, what's needed when it comes to shoots. But I'm constantly a student of the game. I'm constantly doing research. I'm constantly watching stuff and just absorbing information.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody is different. Everybody does things different. The thing I could say to really answer that is to be consistent. Come up with a consistent schedule, you know, whether that's doing something once a week for 1 hour a week, like start somewhere and literally you'll get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a funny story. I know I always have like a story. It's just a thing. But when I started this podcast, I was like, I'm going to start the podcast this month, and I'm only going to do it every 2 weeks because I can't, da-da-da-da. The next week, I got an interview with, like, a Boogie with the Hoodies manager or something like. He was like, I can do it this week. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's when I'm starting. But then it's one of those things, like, now I have to keep it up. I can't just stop. So I have to, have an episode out every Monday. Every, week I have to have an article out. Like, now I'm starting to do the, it's called Behind the Foundation. Mm-hmm. It's like behind this makeup.
How's that concept?
I don't know how I started this. Literally, it's just me behind the scenes, like coming up with my questions, like me and my Post-its, like trying to figure out how to not do everything at once. Like, after this, I might film something like washing this makeup off, like Jesus, like, but just kind of giving a behind the scenes look. But now that I've started that, even though it's more work, it's still in line with what I'm trying to accomplish. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but again, I think that I've developed more of an audience being consistent, like you said, and just trying to practice and not trying to edit myself. Yeah. So, tell me, what is so far, like, what is your greatest accomplishment? And tell me something in the future that you would like to see happen.
So far, that's a tough one. Think about these things every day. I I would say so far, I think I kind of spoke to this earlier, just really the brand awareness.
Yeah.
When I started Film by Erica as a brand, I didn't see it looking how it looks today, with the representation in the merch and, stuff that I've just been doing. Like I just been going with not much of a sharp vision, if that makes sense. Like, you just kind of go with the flow and you kind of fall off into things. And, when I started, I didn't know that I wanted to eventually get into directing. It was just one of those things where it's like, you know what, like in video production, they call it the one-man band. When you do pre-production, production, and post-production all in one, it's like, okay, now what else can you do? Like you have that down. What else can you do? So I'm like, you know what, let's do directing. And directing really, and I like challenges.
Yeah.
So I like to challenge myself. So I'm like, okay, like directing is not an easy job, because at the end of the day, when you're on set, everybody's looking at you in regards to what's the next move. You also set the tone. You're a leader. So it's so many things that, you're practicing in that setting. And I'm like, you know what? I want to sharpen that skill. And I really want to see, where it takes me. So that's to that. In terms of what I see, moving forward with the video production, not even really just video production, like the goal is to inspire those who aspire. Like I always, want to reach back and make sure that I'm holding the door open and provide opportunities and give people the hope who don't necessarily know what direction they want to go in. Because even with me choosing to do video production, I'm the only person in my family that does something like this. Everybody else works the job, and growing up, it's security, go to college, get a job, retire. And for me, I kind of stepped outside of that brim and was like, no, I want to do this creative stuff. Even today when I talk to my family, they're like, so what are you doing? Like, what are you working on? And when I show them, it's like, oh, okay. So, you're working with that person? Oh, okay. And they want to start asking more questions, but it's like, I don't know. I just want to inspire by doing, inspired by some of the things that I've done. So that's ultimately what I want to do. If I can, inspire someone to fulfill their wildest dreams because I'm out doing my thing, like that's a job well done for me.
And I think that's something, to be said for doing something that, you are passionate about, that is undoubtedly your purpose, right? Because there's a level of fulfillment that you won't get from anywhere else. And there is, there are things that people see that could only be represented if you were passionate about it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's kind of like when I said 4 a.m. in China was so dope. And it's like someone else could have shot that, but they wouldn't have shot it in the same way, and it wouldn't have come off the same way, right?
Right.
The other thing I thought about what you just said was, as far as like, practicing and doing these things is, have you ever wondered how Spike Lee came up with the whole like one person moving throughout the crowd and moving fast? I've always wondered how he came up with that concept.
Yeah. Spike Lee was mine, for sure. Yeah.
Is that something that like you think that you would like to do, or that you think filmmakers should do, as far as creating a signature visual?
I'll say, that's how you stand out, and that's how you find a lane and you master that lane. I don't think everyone is made for that,
right?
And it just depends, because you can start out with a certain vision, right? But 10 years later, that certain vision that you started off with has evolved, and it may not look, or it may not be as sharp as what you thought it was going to be. So my biggest thing is like, just, you should always get experience in as many areas as you can, so that you can find your niche.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't know if that's something that I'll do, because I'm still kind of on this go with the flow thing. After directing, the goal is to launch the company and really be running that, but still, sourcing projects and doing so many different things. So if that opportunity presents itself, yes, I'm going to run with it. But we'll see. We'll just have to see.
Yeah. Well, with that, what's next? What's going on with you? What should we look out for?
Stay tuned. I stay I stay doing something different,
Yeah.
Prior to the shutdown, I was traveling a lot. As you see, I fly my drone. I love that thing. So it's always something. And, with where we are now, with everything that's going on,
Yeah.
Things are easing up. So opportunities are starting to, roll back in. So you just have to stay tuned. Stay tuned with the brand.
Okay. Well, in that case, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out, and just sitting with me and answering my questions, and it's really been a pleasure. And one thing I love is I always learn something, and now I learned something from you, and I'll go back and I'll say, okay, well, maybe I should look at this or I should do that. So, that being said, will you just kind of tell everyone where they can find you and, so we know how to get in contact and that kind of stuff?
Of course. Everybody, you can find me at filmedbyerika.com. That's my website. And I am on Instagram at filmedbyerika. I have a Facebook page, Filmed by Erika. It's all one word, all together. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Okay. Well, everyone, I'll have it down below and, in the body under the video. So just in case. And thank you again so much for coming.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Talent You Should Know. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well as leave a review. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.